What is identity-conscious casting? How does it differ from color-conscious casting? Is it better or worse than colorblind casting? And how does it stack up to just casting in general? What are the positives and what are the limitations? In this video, we're going to be exploring all of that and more. Welcome to Hakuna MaChatter, your place for everything positive in diversity and representation in film and TV. My name is Elliot. If you are new here to the channel, please consider subscribing, turning on the bell notification. So, in brief, identity-conscious casting is the casting of an actor in a role conscious of their identity. Pretty straightforward, really, isn't it? What identity-conscious casting is doing, however, is questioning how the identity of an actor can infer the story and the character. Actors bring who they are to every role. They'll bring their experience, their lived experience, their emotions, who they are into that role. What identity-conscious casting allows is for the actor to find alignments within the text based on their identity. It opens up to everything an actor is, rather than just pigeonholing them into one specific thing. You are no longer casting a black man into the role, you are casting a queer cis black man into the role. How does that now infer the story and the character? What more does that allow the actor to bring? How does it differ to color conscious casting? The previous to identity conscious casting, there was always the phrase color conscious casting. And the most obvious example of color conscious casting is Hamilton. That is a musical that has been made to be led by minoritized race people. Yes, it is telling the story of the American founding fathers, who are predominantly white men, but the way in which it tells that story, it has been consciously designed to be told by minoritized race actors. Color conscious casting was always a great way of reinventing old canon, and in the case of Hamilton, a great way of bringing underrepresented voices forward. And of course, the same could go to the likes of gender conscious casting or ability conscious casting. Where they are all limiting themselves, though, however, is that they are only focusing on one part of someone's identity, when in fact we are all made up of a multitude of things that form our identity. And so that is where identity conscious casting comes into play. Why is it better than colorblind casting? The colorblind casting is where you cast an actor not taking into account their race. It doesn't matter for the actor, it doesn't matter for the character. Race is not a factor in the hiring of that actor. The issues that colorblind casting has is that you're basing everything solely off of the truth of the text, therefore limiting what the actor can bring to that role, what experiences, what lived experience, as we said at the top of this video. They can't stamp their identity fully onto the character. Furthermore, it kind of brings into question of what are we being blind to? Are we being blind just to the color of someone's skin, or are we being blind to everything that comes along with that? So does identity conscious casting have any limitations? I feel we kind of put out the positives pretty firmly there when comparing it to color conscious casting and to colorblind casting, but does it have any limitations? Well, I've been reading a great article on howlround.com, which has kind of been a lot of the basis for the research of this video. And this article is a discussion between US theatre director Lavina Jadwani and US casting director Victor Vasquez, and they discuss the difference between inventing new work and the reinventing of old Western canon as it pertains to identity conscious casting. Particularly when it comes to reinventing old canon, and when you are casting with identity conscious in mind, there is a question that can loom over it as to how it honors any historical implementations. Though with that question, I kind of say that the most important word here is reinventing. We are bringing this old Western canon into the modern world and trying to find a way of making it relevant into the modern world. And so in order to find that relevance, does identity conscious casting allow for it to reinvent itself, for it to find relevance in today's society? You know, where we're putting the identity of people who originally didn't tell these stories, who originally these stories weren't written for or about, but we love these stories, we want to see them continually and see how they can change and morph and grow. Is identity conscious casting a way of doing more of that? I'm hoping that made sense. I've got bullet point notes down here, allowing myself to ramble a little bit more. So I'm hoping that still made sense. But then there's the question of, does old canon limit the breakthroughs that identity conscious casting can bring forward? Because so many of these shows, as I said, were written for a specific time and a specific audience and telling the story of specific people, that when we come in with identity conscious casting and we try to reframe this work and we want to find those breakthroughs that bring relevance into the new world, does old canon actually just limit identity conscious casting? Because we're trying to fit people into an already established form? Or do we just say, fuck it, and we do it anyway, and we will make it work and tell the story how we want to tell the story? And I guess at the end of the day is that it's kind of all down to that collaborative experience, mainly between the casting director, and the actor, to find how you can bring relevance of the old canon into the new world through identity conscious casting. And here, it's being done already. It's happening right now. We might not be as conscious about it currently, but believe me, it is there. I've seen it and I've been a part of it. And, you know, just bringing further the identity of the actor into the work, is that how we're going to open up to more socio-conscious works of art and culture, and therefore better representation across the industry? Now look, there are also a few more sticking points with identity conscious casting as well, or I think maybe just this topic as a whole, not necessarily just identity conscious casting. It's widely accepted at the moment that minoritized race actors can take a role that was originally presented as white. However, white actors can't take the place of any roles that are originally presented as a minoritized race. Now bear in mind where I say presented, I think that's quite the optimum word here in these sentences, because usually there are many characters who are presented as white, and these are the ones obviously that are being changed. Now, just because the original actor was white, or the original way the character was drawn or animated was white, doesn't necessarily mean that the character is white. Like, if their race has not been a part of the story, then it doesn't matter as much. But when you have minoritized race characters, certainly when you look back at a lot of things, their race is tied into the plot of the story, into that character, into who they are, because reasons. I mean, there's a lot of us out there that just want to be able to play a part where our race is not necessarily tied to that character. But that's the way it's gone. So I think when you have characters who have been presented as white in the past and they are now being switched into a minoritized race character, it ain't that big an issue. It really isn't. And this is a deeper topic that I need to make a separate video about, but we're touching into those realms already. Yeah, because white people have never been underrepresented in film, TV, theatre, etc. Certainly within the Western world, that is anyway. And considering that minoritized race people are still wildly underrepresented in Western society, to take away the already limited roles that they have, that's a political statement. That is a massive political statement, if you ask me. And, you know, there's also then the questions of, should only gay actors play gay characters? Should only trans actors play trans characters? Should only neurodivergent actors play neurodivergent characters? Here's the thing, it's really important that their stories are told. And it's also really important about who is telling those stories. And again, this is where identity conscious casting can come into play. Now look, I don't identify under any of those banners, so it's not really for me to give a definitive answer on any of those three currently. But I will say, if anyone is watching that does identify any of those banners, and please express your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. I really, you know, I need to learn from you, so please, if you are open to that, do drop a comment in the comment section down below. But I would certainly say that identity conscious casting is a great place to move forward from, to see how an actor's identity can be stamped onto the story and into the character, if we are inventing new work or if we are reinventing old canon. You know, by allowing the imagination of the casting director to run with the design, with how the film, the show, the TV show, the theatre show will look, you know, it really holds the possibility to showing us things that we have not seen before, showing us stories we have not seen before, and bringing us into different realms and possibilities. And I am all here for it. You know, I really will be looking out as to which production companies, which casting directors seem to be going that way and seem to be using identity conscious casting, particularly if we're still going to get films like Music from Sia, and we're still going to get performances like James Corden from The Prom. We need to start deploying identity conscious casting very quickly. Please let me know your comments, your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you'd like to check out a playlist as to how to better diversity and representation, as well as why it is important to and who is already doing it, click this playlist right here. If you'd like to jump into other videos that are tackling the broader topics like this video, you can check that playlist right there. And if you'd like to subscribe, turning on the bell notification so you can be notified when new videos are dropping, make sure you click right there. Until next time, Hakuna MaChatter.